Assessing the existing grounding system involves testing the grounding continuity from the panelboards to the main service ground. If these tests indicate a poor or open ground, it confirms that the conduit is no longer an effective grounding path. Installing a supplementary grounding conductor from the service to each panelboard using a separate conduit is advisable. This provides a dedicated equipment grounding path that is not subject to the potential corrosion of the existing conduit. Run the grounding conductor in a separate conduit to avoid interference with circuit conductors. There are several benefits to supplementary grounding. Firstly, it ensures a reliable and safe equipment grounding system. Secondly, it reduces the risk of electrical hazards, including shock and fire. Thirdly, it complies with current electrical codes and safety standards. When implementing supplementary grounding, keep these considerations in mind. Firstly, use a grounding conductor sized according to the existing branch circuit conductors. Refer to the relevant electrical code tables to determine the appropriate size. Secondly, choose a conduit material that is resistant to corrosion, such as polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, or stainless steel. Thirdly, securely terminate the grounding conductor at the service and panel boards. Ensure all connections are tight and properly made. Fourthly, test the grounding system after installation to verify its integrity. Use a ground resistance meter to confirm the grounding impedance is within acceptable limits. Additional measures can further enhance the safety and reliability of the electrical system. Firstly, inspect the existing conduit for obvious damage or corrosion. Look for signs of rust, pitting, or physical damage. Secondly, consider replacing any compromised sections of conduit. This will help to improve the overall grounding system. Thirdly, implement regular grounding system inspections and maintenance to ensure ongoing reliability. Schedule periodic inspections to identify and address any potential issues. The grounding conductor size is crucial for safety. The grounding conductor should be sized appropriately for the circuit it serves. Refer to NEC Table 250.122 for sizing equipment grounding conductors for grounded systems. The size of the equipment grounding conductor is based on the overcurrent protective device rating for the circuit. For example, if a circuit is protected by a 20 amp breaker, the minimum size copper equipment grounding conductor would be 12 American wire gauge. If a circuit is protected by a 60 amp breaker, the minimum size copper equipment grounding conductor would be 10 American wire gauge. For a 100 amp breaker, the minimum size is 8 American wire gauge. For a 200 amp breaker, the minimum size is 6 American wire gauge. For a 400 amp breaker, the minimum size is 3 American wire gauge. For a 600 amp breaker, the minimum size is 1 American wire gauge. For an 800 amp breaker, the minimum size is 1/0 American wire gauge. For a 1000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 3/0 American wire gauge. For a 1200 amp breaker, the minimum size is 250,000 circular mils. For a 1600 amp breaker, the minimum size is 350,000 circular mils. For a 2000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 400,000 circular mils. For a 2500 amp breaker, the minimum size is 500,000 circular mils. For a 3000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 600,000 circular mils. For a 4000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 800,000 circular mils. For a 5000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 1,000 circular mils. For a 6000 amp breaker, the minimum size is 1,200,000 circular mils. The type of conduit used for the supplementary grounding conductor is also important. Choose a conduit material that is resistant to corrosion in the specific environment. PVC conduit is a good option in many situations as it is resistant to many chemicals and moisture. Rigid metal conduit, or RMC, provides excellent physical protection and can be used in harsh environments. However, RMC is susceptible to corrosion, so it should be properly coated or made of a corrosion-resistant material. Intermediate metal conduit, or IMC, is a lighter weight alternative to RMC and offers good protection against physical damage and corrosion. Electrical metallic tubing or aimed, is a thin-walled conduit that is suitable for use in dry locations. It is not as strong as RNC or IMC, but it is lighter and easier to install. Liquid-tight flexible metal conduit, or LFMC, is a flexible conduit that is used in wet locations or where flexibility is needed. It is important to use fittings that are compatible with the conduit material. Securely terminate the grounding conductor at the service and panel boards. This ensures a low impedance path for fault current. Use approved connectors and ensure that all connections are tight and properly made. Avoid using dissimilar metals, as this can lead to corrosion. Use antioxidant paste on aluminum connections to prevent oxidation. Testing the grounding system after installation is essential to verify its integrity. Use a ground resistance meter to measure the impedance of the grounding system. The impedance should be low enough to allow fault current to flow quickly and safely back to the source. A ground resistance meter, also known as a ground tester or earth tester, is an instrument used to measure the resistance of the earth or grounding system. It is essential for ensuring the safety and effectiveness of electrical systems by verifying that grounding paths are adequate for dissipating fault currents. Firstly, there is the fall-off potential method. This is the most common and accurate method for measuring ground resistance. It involves driving two auxiliary ground rods into the earth in a straight line away from the main grounding electrode. The ground resistance meter sends a current between the main electrode and the far auxiliary rod, while measuring the voltage drop between the main electrode and the near auxiliary rod. Using Ohm's law, the meter calculates the resistance of the earth. Secondly, there is the three-point test. This is a simplified version of the fall-off potential method. It requires the main grounding electrode and two auxiliary ground rods. The meter sends a current between the main electrode and one auxiliary rod, while measuring the voltage drop between the main electrode and the other auxiliary rod. The resistance is then calculated using Ohm's law. Thirdly, there is the clamp-on method. This method is used for testing grounding systems without disconnecting them. The clamp-on meter induces a voltage into the ground loop and measures the resulting current. The meter then calculates the resistance of the ground loop. This method is useful for testing multiple grounds in parallel. Fourthly, there is the two-point test. This method is used for measuring the resistance of a single grounding electrode. The meter sends a current between the grounding electrode and a known good ground. The voltage drop is then measured, and the resistance is calculated. The acceptable grounding impedance varies depending on the application and local electrical codes. In general, the impedance should be low enough to allow fault current to flow quickly and safely back to the source. The NEC recommends a ground resistance of 25 ohms or less for a single grounding electrode. If the resistance is higher than 25 ohms, an additional grounding electrode is required. For sensitive electronic equipment, a lower impedance may be required. Inspect the existing conduit for damage or corrosion. This will help to identify any potential problems with the grounding system. Look for signs of rust, pitting, or physical damage. Pay close attention to the joints and connections, as these are the most likely places for corrosion to occur. Replace any compromised sections of conduit. This will help to improve the overall grounding system. Use the same type of conduit as the existing conduit or a compatible material. Ensure that all connections are tight and properly made. Implement regular grounding system inspections and maintenance. This will help to ensure that the grounding system remains reliable and effective over time. Schedule periodic inspections to identify and address any potential issues. Keep a record of all inspections and maintenance activities. Grounding system inspections should include a visual inspection of all grounding electrodes, conductors, and connections. Check for signs of corrosion, damage, or loose connections. Measure the resistance of the grounding system using a ground resistance meter. Compare the results to previous readings to identify any trends. Test the continuity of all grounding conductors to ensure that they are properly connected. Maintenance activity should include tightening any loose connections, repairing any damaged conductors, and replacing any corroded electrodes or connections. The frequency of grounding system inspections and maintenance will depend on the environment and the type of equipment being grounded. In general, grounding systems should be inspected at least annually. In harsh environments, more frequent inspections may be required. Properly installed and maintained grounding systems are essential for electrical safety. They help to protect people and equipment from electrical shock and fire. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your grounding system is reliable and effective. The purpose of an equipment grounding conductor, or EG, is to provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source. This allows the overcurrent protective device, such as a circuit breaker or fuse, to quickly trip and de-energize the circuit. The equipment grounding conductor also helps to prevent voltage from appearing on metal parts of equipment, which could create a shock hazard. The equipment grounding conductor is typically a wire, conduit, or other metal enclosure that is connected to the grounding electrode system. The grounding electrode system is a system of electrodes, such as ground rods, that are buried in the earth and connected to the building's electrical system. The grounding electrode system provides a path for fault current to flow to ground, which helps to stabilize the voltage in the electrical system and reduce the risk of electrical shock. The size of the equipment grounding conductor is determined by the size of the overcurrent protective device protecting the circuit. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum size of the equipment grounding conductor for different circuit sizes. It is important to use the correct size equipment grounding conductor to ensure that it can safely carry the fault current. The equipment grounding conductor must be properly connected to the equipment and to the grounding electrode system. All connections must be tight and corrosion resistant. The equipment grounding conductor must be installed in accordance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. In addition to providing a low impedance path for fault current, the equipment grounding conductor also helps to reduce electromagnetic interference, or EMI. EMI can interfere with the operation of electronic equipment and cause data loss or other problems. The equipment grounding conductor helps to shield the equipment from EMI by providing a path for the EMI current to flow to ground. The equipment grounding conductor is an essential part of a safe and reliable electrical system. It is important to properly install and maintain the equipment grounding conductor to ensure that it can protect people and equipment from electrical shock, fire, and EMI. Always consult with a qualified electrician to ensure that your electrical system is properly grounded. They can assess your specific needs and recommend the best grounding solution for your situation. Remember that working with electricity can be dangerous. Always take precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. De-energize circuits before working on them and use insulated tools and equipment. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to do the work for you.